move on to our little watercolour magnolia now. So you can, what we want to do is to sketch it out very, very lightly. We don't want to go heavy because it's watercolour and that will show through. So we're going to sketch it out. You can either work from your sketch that you've already done, or obviously from the picture. And then to just do a little tester, let me get my paint. So what we want to use is a nice pink colour. So those of you that have got white nights, you should see that you've got a pinky colour in your range. If you've got tubes, you want something like a magenta or a permanent rose, mauve. What we don't want really is like a cadmium red or a alizarin crimson, because that will not be quite the right red for our magnolia. And to do a little test piece first, just draw a leaf, or not a leaf, a magnolia petal. And you're all having a rummage around through your paint, see what you've got. So what we're going to do is, and we think these are very, very pale colours on the magnolia. So this colour in my set of white nights is the quinacridone red. So if I put that down, you can see it's quite a strong pink colour.
So have you already dilute? I don't really know how to use them properly. Have you already put water in that?
So what I'm going to do is, we want a very, very pale wash. So take a little bit of your paint, and on your palette just add some water to it, and we just want the merest hint of colour, and we can test it on our sheet of paper. Even that is a little bit strong, so we're just going to add a little bit more water and then paint my leaf. I'm calling it a leaf, it's not a leaf, it's a petal. Paint my petal. I'm going to paint it all over, but even that is a little bit strong. I'm using a number 6 round brush. So while that's wet, I'm just going to go in, I'm going to wash my brush, dry it, and just lift out a little bit of colour.
You just put the water on first and then put the paint in. I just don't really know physically how to do it.
Okay, so let's do it again. Let's draw our petal shape. So, very pale mix of this pinky colour. So mix it onto your palette.
So do you put do you put the I've got that there. Do I put water in there and then add
so
the
you've got
paint?
a pot of water.
Can you show me what to do?
Yeah.
That's where I get a bit confused. So do I put my water
So
in?
let me, those of you that have got a tube of paint.
Yeah.
Right, so if I added water to that, I'm going to have loads and loads of paint mixed up, and I don't need that amount. So what I'm going to do is going to take a little bit of that into there, and you can see how strong it is.
Well, it's really
Keep adding water. Test it on your paper. That's probably about the strength that we need. So watercolours, lots of water.
Yeah.
And particularly for this, because we need a very light one. So we've got our pale pink mixed up. Paint the whole of your petal. So I've got a number 6 or 4 round, something like that, round like that. Wash your brush in the water, dry it off on your trousers and a bit of tissue, and then with your dry brush that you've just cleaned, lift off a little bit of colour at the top of the petal. So we get that variation, going from a little bit deeper to a little bit lighter. is why having a little practice first is important, because if you go too strong, just try to do a few little samples first.
Well, I can see that massive roll there.
Right, who's got? Struggling with their colours.
Like that.
I haven't got any colours.
You've got that big tub of colour.
I'd love some pink. Thank you very much. Yeah, I've got crimson and I've got the other one.
Yeah, I've got.
A bit of rose madder would be okay. Anything that's permanent rose madder, no.
I mean, I probably have every kind of red, but
Yes.
Yeah. So carmine in your white night sets.
Is it?
That one.
Congratulations.
Oh, I see. And gosh, we can kind of put it on, can't we? Like that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, I've done something right.
I need something. Did you say, what crimson did you say? Alizarin?
I didn't know.
Oh.
Rose madder,
Saved.
opera rose, carmine,
That's a compliment.
magenta.
Think of drip.
Probably. It's one of those unusuals.
Yeah, you can go, you can't really do it the other way around. though. That's sort of-
Just do a
Is
section.
that recording us talking? Is that recording us audio?
Oh
I
yes.
think.
What, you just been
When you weren't here, we just had a very interesting conversation before our break. Because, I don't know.
No, let's repeat it.
Let's not repeat it, yeah. Let's not repeat it.
I forgot that I'd left it on.
Oh no.
It's fine.
Everyone's
No
gonna-
data
It wasn't
protection,
recording when we
no
went. No, it
Everyone's
wasn't.
going to hear.
It's
Is it
fine.
incredibly personal?
No,
That's
I'm
all right.
completely over it.
Something about a broken arm. I don't know.
My son broke her arm when they were at school. Well, I didn't
Oh.
know, we didn't know, and she said, oh, my name's Paige. Then she said how old she was, and said, you know my son. And then I went, oh no, you're Paige. It was about 20 years ago, wasn't it?
Yes,
You broke
yeah,
her
a long
arm.
time ago.
Yeah.
Oops.
But you're all friends now.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Right, it's all good.
So if you go a bit dark, you can either lift it out, water it down again, or just do another one. This is why it's important to do these little test pieces beforehand.
Yes.
Yes.
What's the like shape? What looks like the technique of the brushing into use rose petals?
That again.
Like how are you supposed to like make rose petal shapes? Like are you like supposed to like hold the brush up?
No, just draw that.
I'm really nervous to do it.
Well, I just will be
So we're
glad to
filling
do
it in
something that
without
isn't
water,
shading,
without
so
pale wash.
something that doesn't look like that.
Doesn't really matter whether it looks just any sort of petal type shape. Doesn't have to look like one that we're necessarily painting at the moment.
Is this worth giving up on?
So again, pale wash of colour. Put that on. Wash your brush. Dry it off. And then lift out that bit of colour at the top.
Do you like anyone?
Oh, thanks.
You get that slight variation in this shading.
Instead of telling me how to vary it, she was like, no, choose from.
Now we need to make some of these darker because they're a little bit darker at the base of the petals. They're quite dark, so we can re-wet just with clean water.
Got little dimples in it.
Re-wet And we just need a slightly stronger mix of paint. And then just drop the paint in at the base of your petal and let the water pull up the paint. So the water will do the work for you. So again, wet the flower petal, get your thicker, stronger mix of paint and just drop it into the base of the petal, and then the water will gradually pull that colour up.
If it's gone uneven, Rose, does that mean you've put too much water on? It's gone like a streak.
So there's a little bit, yeah, so you can just lift that off.
Okay.
With your brush again, just lift it off.
Okay.
It's all nice and wet, so
I'm still making shades.
right, so draw a petal shape. Oh, we've got loads of petals there. Cracking on very nice. So that's the sort of shade you want to draw, and then that's the deeper one. Yep. Right, a bit bright is that green, very, very bright. So
What, that's too bright.
too bright, yeah. That's really definitely very, very strong. So if it goes a bit funny and you don't like it, we can adjust it, we can lift out, but you can see how that wet petal with the darker colour, it's drawn it up to give us a nice sort of soft edge to the shading and the colouring. So when you feel like you've got the hang of it, we will move on to adding some colour to our, well, so we've drawn it out in pencil. What we must be aware of, that wet against wet will run, so we need to make sure that we don't do one petal next to another petal, otherwise all those colours will run together. So we've got to leave some dry paper between the petals. So I'm going to mix up my pale wash and put that onto my first petal. Wash my brush, dry it off, and we're going to lift out that really light area. I don't want to do this petal, because if I do that it'll all run into the one next to it. So I'm going to leave that petal and then go on to this one here. So again, pale wash, paint that on, wash your brush, dry it off on a bit of tissue or trousers or jumper or something. And then just lift that off on the top. So we're going to let those two dry a bit now before we attempt the two in between. But I could do this one here because that's not touching anything. So this one's quite a big one, it comes between those green. Buds. your brush and lift it out at the top. How are you finding that? Okay. Put some water onto this one here. Going in with a deeper colour now. And I'm just going to drop that into there. So just dropping the colour in, just dabbing with the paintbrush. If you go too dark, just wash your brush and lift it out. Oh, bless you. Drop some colour in. We'll dry a bit lighter as well, so because you've got lots of water added with it, as that evaporates, it will give us a lighter. Temptation to go back in and mess with it, but just let that paint be drawn up. This one's quite dark, so again I'll wet that, go in with some stronger colour. So it's all nice and delicate this week. Next week we're going to be big and bold. So we're going to do acrylics next week. So it's Alan Martin is our reference for next week. So nice big seascapes, Nora. Seascapes. So next week, what you can do it on watercolour paper. So if you've got your watercolour palette, that's going to be fine. If anybody wants to work a little bit bigger, a piece of cardboard, something like mount board, is fine, or a bigger sheet of watercolour paper. If anybody wants to work on a canvas or canvas board, of course you can do. Flat brushes are going to be ideal, and acrylic paints. We've always got bits and pieces to borrow if you haven't got all the colours or all the brushes. Right, that's just bled into that little bit there, so just blue with that. That's what ended up with a purple leaf, which doesn't quite look right. So I'll lift that out. I don't like cleaning my palette because sometimes there's colours there that you've mixed and are ideal for what you're painting.